My name is Leslie. I am 34 years old. I have one daughter. Her name is Emma. She is 10 years old now. When you see her, you will smile. She has a bright face and big eyes. But this story is not about smiles. This story is about pain, about how I lost everything and started again. This story is about a mother who never gave up. I met my husband when I was young. His name was Paul. He was smart and funny. At first, he was kind. He took me out. He bought small gifts. He told me I was special. I believed him. We got married when I was 21. At that time, I had big dreams. I wanted to build a happy home. I wanted a small family, peace, and love. But after marriage, things changed. Paul lost his job. He stayed at home all day. I tried to help. I said, "You can find another job." He said, "I will try." But he never did. He started to drink. First, a little, then too much. He shouted at me. He broke things in the house. When Emma was born, I thought he would change. He didn't. When Emma was 3, I knew I had to leave. One night, Paul came home angry. He threw a plate at the wall. Emma cried. I held her close. I said to myself, "This is not safe." That night, I made a choice. I packed 2 bags, one for me, one for Emma. I left when Paul was sleeping. I did not look back. I had no plan. I had no job. I had no home. I had no family to help me. I took Emma on the bus. We went to the city. I knew it was big. I thought maybe I could find work. I had only $42 in my bag. I was scared, but I had to stay strong for my daughter. The first night in the city was cold. I found a small room to sleep. It was near the train station. The bed was old. The room was loud. Emma slept in my arms. I could not sleep. I looked at the ceiling and cried. I said, "What will I do now?" The next day, I walked around the city. I asked for work. Some people said no. Some people laughed. I did not stop. I had to find something. I saw a woman cleaning outside a building. I said, "Do they need help?" She looked at me. She said, "Maybe. Ask inside." I went in. A man said, "Can you clean toilets?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Come tomorrow." That was my first job in the city. I cleaned toilets. I cleaned floors. I worked many hours. It was not easy. My back hurt. My hands were dry. The smell was bad. But I did it. I did it for Emma. I smiled when I came home. I didn't tell her about the toilets. I said, "Mama works hard. That's all." Every day I woke up before the sun. I cleaned all day. I walked Emma to a small school before work. It was not a good school, but it was free. She held my hand and said, "Mama, I love you." That gave me strength. I walked away with tears in my eyes. Some weeks, I worked 2 jobs. In the day, I cleaned. At night, I helped a woman with her baby. I fed the baby. I cleaned the kitchen. I washed clothes. I slept for only 4 hours, but I never stopped. I told myself, Emma must have a better life. I lived in a small room with Emma. 1 bed, 1 table, 1 chair. The wall paint was old. The light was weak, but it was our home. I made soup every night. Emma never complained. She smiled and told me about school. She said, "One day, I will help you, Mama." I kissed her head and said, "Just study. That is enough." Years passed like this. I worked. Emma grew. She studied well. Her teachers liked her. They said, "She is smart. She is kind." I was proud. I didn't have money for toys. I didn't have money for trips. But I gave her love. I gave her all I had. Before we continue with the story, I'd love to hear from you. Which part of the world are you listening from today? Leave a comment below. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more simple and emotional English stories. I had no time for friends. I had no time to rest. But I watched Emma grow. I saw her read books at night. I saw her help small kids cross the road. I saw her sit beside me when I was sick. I thought, she is better than me. People said, "How do you smile so much?" I said, "Because of my daughter." They did not know my pain. They did not know my past. But I smiled. I had no nice shoes. I had no phone. But I had Emma. That was enough for me. One night, I looked at Emma while she slept. I saw her small hands. I saw her school books beside her. I touched her hair and whispered, "I will give you a better life. I promise." That promise was the only thing I had, and I would never break it. I kept working day and night. My body hurt all the time. My feet were tired. My hands were always dry. My eyes burned from lack of sleep. But I did not stop. I told myself every morning, one day, she will not suffer like me. That thought gave me power. Emma was now in middle school. She was 12. She was taller, and her smile was even brighter. She still kissed me before school. She still waited for me at the window every evening. When I opened the door, she ran to hug me. Her love was my light. It helped me go on, even when I was weak. Her school gave her a free lunch. That helped us. I still made dinner each night. Most days it was rice and beans, sometimes just soup with bread. We didn't eat much, but I made sure Emma never went to bed hungry. She never asked for more. She knew we had little, but she never complained. At work, I cleaned offices, toilets, and even old buildings. One job I had was in a hospital. I cleaned the halls at night. I saw sick people. I saw sad faces, but I smiled at them. I wanted to give a little light. One nurse told me, "You are always so kind." I said, "I know how pain feels." Sometimes I got sick, but I still worked. If I missed a day, I lost money. I could not risk that. Rent was always late. Bills made my hands shake. Some nights I cried in the bathroom. I cried quietly so Emma wouldn't hear. I didn't want her to see me weak. Emma began helping me more at home. She cleaned dishes. She folded clothes. She did her homework by herself. She was responsible. One day I saw her helping a classmate with reading. Her teacher told me, "Emma is a leader." I smiled with pride. I said, "She will do great things." But life stayed hard. One winter, our heater broke. We had no money to fix it. I gave Emma my warm coat. I slept in 2 shirts and socks. My hands were cold in the mornings, but she never got sick. That was all that mattered to me. On Emma's 14th birthday, I saved for a small cake. Just a simple one. She hugged me and said, "This is the best day, Mama." We laughed and sang together. It was just the 2 of us. But we had love. That was our gift. As she grew older, Emma studied even harder. She stayed after school. She joined a science club. She read books from the library. One day she said, "Mama, I want to go to college." I smiled and said, "Yes, you will." I didn't know how we would pay, but I believed in her. I asked around for more jobs. I cleaned homes on weekends. I cleaned a school after hours. I worked 7 days a week. I missed sleep. I missed rest. But I did not stop. I wanted to save every dollar for her future. I did not buy new shoes. I did not buy new clothes. Every extra coin went into a jar. Emma knew we were poor, but she never acted sad. She never asked for a phone or new clothes. She said, "Mama, I have you. That's enough." I held her and cried. I said, "You are my everything." She got good grades every year. Her teachers praised her. They said, "She will go far." She helped others at school. She read to young kids. She gave food to a boy who had none. She was kind, just like her heart. One afternoon, Emma came home with a paper in her hand. Her face was red with joy. "Mama, I got into a college!" she shouted. I dropped the dish I was washing. I turned to her, shaking. "You did?" I asked. "Yes, a good one. And I got a full scholarship. All my classes are free." I fell to my knees and cried. That night we sat on the floor and held each other. I said, "All these years, all the work, it was worth it." Emma said, "I will make you proud." I whispered, "You already have." College started in the fall. We bought one used suitcase. I gave her a small bag of food. I kissed her forehead and said, "Be strong. Be kind. Be you." She wiped her tears and said, "I'll work hard, Mama. I'll come back for you." The house felt empty without her. I missed her voice. I missed her laugh. But I was happy. She was safe. She was learning. She was building a life. She called me every week. She said college was hard but exciting. She was learning new things. She got a part-time job at the school library. She said, "Mama, I will send you a little money soon." I told her, "Just study. That's all I want." One day, I got sick. I had to stop one job. My back hurt. I rested more. The days were long and quiet. I waited for her calls. Her voice gave me life. She said, "Mama, I got an internship." I asked, "What is that?" She said, "It's like a job to learn. It pays well." After her final year, Emma came home. She was now 22. She was taller, she was stronger, but she still hugged me like a little girl. She said, "Mama, I got a real job offer. A big company. It's far, but they pay well. I want to take it." I smiled and said, "Go, shine bright. This is your time." Before she left again, she gave me an envelope. Inside, I found a bank card and a key. She said, "The card is for you. I will send money each month. The key is to your new place. It's small, but nice. You don't have to work anymore." I cried. I held her face. "You are my star," I said. She smiled and said, "You cleaned toilets so I could rise. I will never forget that." Emma moved to a new city for her job. She called me every day. She told me about her office. She said it was big and clean. She had her own desk. She had a laptop. She wore a nice shirt and black shoes. I closed my eyes and pictured her sitting tall, working with smart people. I smiled. My little girl had grown up. I still lived in the same small room. I cleaned part-time now. My body was tired. My back still hurt. But I worked a little each week to feel busy. One day Emma said, "Mama, you don't need to clean anymore." I said, "It's okay. I don't mind." But she said, "No, Mama, it's time for you to rest." The next month, Emma sent me a train ticket. She said, "Come see my place." I packed my old bag. I wore my best dress. It was old, but clean. I held the ticket in my hand the whole trip. My heart was full of joy and fear. I had never left the city in 10 years. When I got off the train, Emma was there. She wore a white coat and smiled big. She hugged me tight. "Welcome, Mama," she said. I looked around. The city was bright. The streets were wide. The air smelled clean. I felt like I was in a dream. She took me to her apartment. It was small but warm. There was a soft couch, a big window, and clean floors. She gave me tea and said, "Sit, Mama. This is your home too." I touched the couch and said, "I never thought I would sit in a place like this." That evening, we walked around the city. Emma showed me her office building. It was tall and full of lights. "I work here," she said. I looked up and felt proud. "You belong here," I said. She held my hand and smiled. We had dinner at home. She cooked rice and chicken. I laughed and said, "You cook better than me now." She said, "I learned from the best." We ate slowly. I looked at her face. She looked strong and happy. I saw peace in her eyes. I stayed with her for 3 days. Each day she showed me something new. A park with trees, a big store with many colors, a small cafe where people read books. I sat in the park and felt the sun on my face. I thought, this is what rest feels like. Before I left, Emma gave me another envelope. This time, it had another train ticket and a piece of paper. I opened it. It was a rental agreement. My name was on it. She said, "Mama, I found you a better place back home. You will move next week." I was shocked. "But how?" I asked. She said, "I saved from my job. You gave me your life. This is my turn." I hugged her and cried. I said, "I don't need much." She said, "I want to give you peace." When I got home, I packed my things. I had only a few bags. I left the small room and walked to the new place. It was not far, but it felt like a world away. The building was clean. The hallway was quiet. My door had a small bell. Inside, there was a kitchen, a bedroom, and a clean bathroom. The window let in the light. I stood in the center of the room and cried. I said out loud, "Emma, you did this." I sat on the bed and whispered, "Thank you." Emma sent money every month. She called every Sunday. She said, "Are you eating well?" I said, "Yes, my love." She said, "Are you sleeping okay?" I said, "Like a baby." I was happy. I still missed her, but now I was not tired. I was not hungry. I was not cold. 1 month she came to visit. She brought a small TV and a warm sweater. She said, "You need comfort, Mama." I said, "I already have comfort. You." She smiled. We walked to the market. We cooked dinner together. We watched a movie on the couch. I never knew life could be this soft. Emma was doing well at her job. She got promoted. She traveled to new cities. She met new people. She said, "Mama, I learn new things every day." I told her, "Never stop learning." She laughed and said, "Just like you never stopped working." One day, Emma called and said, "Mama, I want you to move near me." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I miss you." I laughed. "You're busy. I don't want to be in your way." She said, "You're never in my way. You're my mother." Weeks later, She came to get me. We packed my things again. This time we moved together, but not to her old place. She had bought a small house. Yes, a house. It had 2 bedrooms, a garden, and a small porch. She said, "This is our home now." I walked through the house in silence. I touched the walls. I looked at the kitchen. I sat on the porch and cried. She sat next to me. I said, "This is more than I dreamed." She held my hand and said, "You gave me more than this." The neighbors were kind. They said, "Your daughter is special." I smiled and said, "She is everything." I started planting flowers in the garden. I watered them each morning. I watched the sky. I watched birds. I finally saw the world with peace in my heart. Emma left for work each morning. I waved from the porch. In the evening, she came home and said, "Hi, Mama." I made tea. We talked about her day. We laughed. We cried. We lived. I sometimes sat alone and thought about the past, the small room, the cold nights, the pain in my back, the tears I hid. But now, I looked at the clean kitchen, the soft bed, and my daughter's face. I knew it was worth it. Emma framed a photo of us. She put it near the front door. Under it, she wrote, "Because of you, I rise." I looked at it each day. I whispered, "Because of you, I lived." Not everyone saw the years I cleaned toilets. Not everyone saw the nights I went without food. But Emma saw. She remembered. And she never forgot. I am now 55. Emma is 25. She still works hard. She still smiles. She still calls me Mama like a little girl. Sometimes we sit on the porch and talk about the old days. She says, "You are my hero." I shake my head and say, "No, my dear, you are mine." The days now pass slowly. I wake up early, but I do not rush. I sit by the window and drink warm tea. I watch the birds fly across the sky. I listen to the wind in the trees. My body still remembers the years of pain, but my heart is calm now. There is no more fear in the morning. There is only peace. Emma leaves for work each day with a smile. She wears clean clothes. She carries her laptop. She says, "See you soon, Mama." I wave from the porch. I sit on the bench and watch her walk down the street. She looks so sure, so strong. I think about the little girl who once wore old shoes and held my hand on cold mornings. Sometimes I walk to the small park nearby. I sit on the bench with other mothers and grandmothers. We talk about flowers, about food, about family. They ask me, "Do you have children?" I smile and say, "One daughter. She is my whole life." They smile back. I know they understand. Emma calls me during lunch breaks. She says, "Did you eat, Mama?" I say yes. She says, "Rest well. Don't cook tonight. I'll bring food." She brings soup and warm bread. We eat together on the couch. We watch old movies. We laugh at silly scenes. It is quiet, simple joy. I still keep busy. I clean the house. I fold clothes. I take care of the garden. I grow tomatoes and herbs. I give some to the neighbors. They say, "Your garden is full of life." I tell them, "It's because I never stopped caring." One weekend, Emma said, "Mama, we have guests today." I was surprised. She invited her manager and a few friends from work. I cleaned the house twice. I wore my best dress. I made tea and fruit. When they came, I was nervous, but they were kind. Her manager shook my hand and said, Emma talks about you often. She says you are the strongest person she knows. I smiled and said, she is the reason I stayed strong. He said, she works hard. She leads others. She's going far. I looked at Emma and felt my heart swell. That night, I could not sleep. I sat near the window and thought about my life. I remembered the old days, the broken plates, the small bag of money, the long walks to work. I remembered the smell of toilets, the pain in my back, the nights I cried in silence. But I also remembered Emma's hand in mine, her small voice saying, I love you, Mama. Her smile when she brought home a school prize, her soft hug when I was sick. All the years, all the pain, they led to this moment. A quiet house, a full kitchen, a daughter who came home safe. Emma saved more money. She worked long hours, just like I once did. But her job was different. She sat at a desk, she sent emails, she gave ideas. She helped other people grow. She told me one day, Mama, I want to start my own company. I looked at her and said, if anyone can do it, you can. Months passed. She worked on her plan every evening. She read books. She asked questions. She made phone calls. I watched from the couch. I didn't understand all the things she did, but I understood one thing. She was building something big. Then one day she said, Mama, it's time. She left her job and started her company. I was scared, but I didn't show it. I just said, I believe in you. She kissed my cheek and said, I learned from the best. The start was hard. She worked late. She didn't sleep much. I brought her tea and said, don't forget to rest. She smiled and said, just like you used to say. Her company grew, slowly at first, then faster. People noticed her. They asked her to speak at events. She became a leader. She hired a team. She helped others find jobs. She gave chances to people who had nothing, just like we once had nothing. One young woman said to her, you changed my life. Emma smiled and said, my mother did that for me. On Emma's 30th birthday, we had a small party at home. She wore a soft blue dress. I made her favorite meal. After dinner, she stood up and said, I want to say something. Everyone went quiet. She looked at me and said, this is my mother. She is the reason I'm here today. She worked every day for me. She gave me everything when she had nothing. She cleaned toilets so I could sit in clean rooms. She slept on the floor so I could dream big. Everything I am is because of her. My eyes filled with tears. Everyone clapped. Some people cried. Emma walked over and hugged me. She whispered, I love you, Mama. I held her and said, I love you more. The next day, she gave me a gift, a small box. Inside was a key. I looked at her, confused. She said, come with me. We got in the car and drove for an hour. We stopped in front of a white house with a garden and a porch swing. She said, this is yours, Mama. This is your house. I couldn't speak. I walked through the rooms. There were clean walls, big windows, and a soft bed. A real kitchen, a garden in the back. I touched the wall and cried. For me? I asked. She said, yes, you gave me life. Now, I want to give you rest. I moved in 2 weeks later. Emma still lives close. She visits every day. We eat together. We watch the sky. We talk about the past. We talk about the future. Sometimes I sit on my porch and think about the journey. From a broken home to this peaceful place, from dirty floors to soft rugs, from pain to peace. I remember all the faces that said no, all the doors that closed, all the nights I wanted to give up. But I didn't, because I had a reason. I had Emma. Now I have everything I need: a home, food, rest, and the most beautiful gift, a daughter who never forgot. And I know in my heart I did not fail. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.